All right, welcome to the loft. Good to see everyone. So, yes, lessons from the 3 times I almost died. My birthday is coming up soon, and I thought I'd do a kind of reflection, recap on my life, what I learned, what lessons I want to share, what do I remember, and share it all with you. And this is quite a personal topic, but you're 100 of my closest friends, so here we go. With my birthday coming up, anyone recognize what this cake is from? Come on, someone else. No gamers here? No? Oh, surprise. Game called Portal. The cake is a lie. Anyway, it's a computer joke. If you're like into computer games, you get this. Anyway, never mind. False slap. So, since my birthday is coming up, and since this will set the perspective for this talk, I thought I'd have everyone picture of me, recent passport photo, taken about a month ago. What do you think? Which birthday of mine is it that is coming up? Lift your hands. Who's for 45? Who's for 40? Who's for 35? Fair for you. Who's for 30? A little bit more than 35. Who's for 25? Not too many people. The answer is 40. Yes. So, become vegetarian. That's the secret. So yes, my 40th birthday is coming up, and next month, and as a way of averting midlife crisis, I'm reflecting on everything I've learned. So first, some background on this. Super quick background of my life. Born in Germany in a small town near Frankfurt. After high school, I traveled from Germany to Southampton and went to university in Southampton. And then I went all the way to New Zealand, which is I couldn't fit on this map, since it's kind of far away. Spent a year as a full-time Hare Krishna monk in Wellington, which I thoroughly recommend to anyone. It's taught me everything I know. And then went back to the UK, to Manchester, and did a PhD in computer science there, and then escaped Europe back to New Zealand, where I've been for 10 years now, working in the software industry, an AI solutions architect, building artificial intelligence for the legal industry. But way back in Southampton, when I was in university, 1998, I started university. So sometime when I was in university, there was this intimate, cute meeting in one of the buildings in the University of Southampton. And this is where I first heard about Krishna consciousness, this thing that we have here that we're practicing and teaching. This Krishna consciousness. I learned about this in Southampton, and there was a small university club with some people who were interested in it and talking about it, practiced meditation, kind of similar to this much smaller scale. And one of the hosts there, Faz, he asked everyone on what was, I think, the first or second meeting of the club. He asked everyone, who here believes in God? And went around the room, shouldn't really do this, but who here believes in God? Lift your hand. Well, fair few of you. When it came to me and around the room, I said, no, absolutely not. And the interesting thing about Krishna consciousness, the thing that kept me going, is the response of Faz and Rhiannon there, who were running the club, was, it's actually good. You don't have to believe in God. In fact, why would you believe in God and Krishna consciousness? you don't believe, you either know or you don't know. You have some realization, you have some knowledge, or you don't. Belief doesn't really come into the equation. Belief doesn't matter. So when I think of God, I think of like Charlton Heston in a costume like that going, and it's not appealing. And why should I believe in the mediocre actor portraying a figure? And nothing against people that believe in God. It's fine, everyone, you can believe what you want. But to me, it doesn't do it for me. At the same time, the question you might ask is, here, a picture of the history of the universe. Who here believes in matter? Anyone? Do you believe in matter? A few people? Matter seems to have some godlike abilities that that if you think about it deeply, this is all background. This will all make sense in the context of the talk. So if you think about matter deeply, you have to realize that matter has extreme godlike abilities that are almost even more incredible than the abilities people ascribe to God. For example, quantum fluctuations caused the Big Bang, which means the universe came from nothing by magic of matter. Matter decided to fluctuate in some way, and everything in the universe appeared for no reason. This is a very profound supernatural ability that matter suddenly has. And then there's this, for no reason, there's this period of cosmic inflation that happened, where the universe expanded faster than the speed of light, like 100,000 times faster than the speed of light for a fraction of a second. Otherwise, the universe that we have wouldn't make sense. Physicists have calculated. There has to have been this period where matter, for no reason, suddenly expanded at this ginormous speed, faster than the laws of physics should allow, and then stopped expanding for that reason, for that speed, with that speed, for no reason again. So matter again has wondrous abilities to suddenly decide to expand at super speed and then stop. And Stephen Hawking, who recently passed away, calculated that there has to be this Hawking radiation that comes from black holes, where virtual photon pairs pop out of nowhere and then annihilate each other. But next to a black hole, one of those pairs of photons gets sucked into the black hole and not slowly evaporating the black hole, and the other gets emitted as an X-ray. So you're saying matter is supposed to have the ability to create matter out of nothing for no reason, and part of that matter that got created from nothing gets sucked into a black hole, destroys it slowly, and the other gets emitted as an X-ray? Again, virtual matter coming from nothing, destroying black holes, is something we're supposed to place our faith in the rigor of scientific matter that has nothing to do with belief. It's all science. And yet, we're asked to believe these super amazing, wondrous things that matter is supposed to be able to do. So, belief in matter is a lot about faith. Similarly, very similar to what belief in God is supposedly. But in Krishna consciousness, you don't have to believe in either. Instead, as I learned throughout my life, there is realization, there is real knowledge to be had, real actual knowledge that's not dependent on faith. By practice of Krishna consciousness, by study and meditation. So, after graduating from university in 2002, showing my age, the dot-com bubble had dispersed. I studied computer science, and I could not get a job because no one was hiring anyone with a computer science degree at that time. Of course, it's very different now. And instead, I moved into, anyone know what this place is? Yeah, Bhaktivedanta Manor. Bhaktivedanta Manor in the UK. It's property that dates back 800 years in the UK, and it's 70 acres of land that a certain member of the Beatles, George Harrison, donated to the Krishna Consciousness Organization in 1973. bought and donated this 70-acre piece of land outside of London, and it's the UK headquarters of the Krishna Consciousness organization. It's a very beautiful place. I moved in there and was a monk there for 4 months before moving to New Zealand. Monk training. It's like you could be you're not a monk for life. I'm married now. I have a 4-year-old child, so you can be a monk for some time as a training period, and then choose to do whatever you like afterwards. And it was very educational for me. But while there, and after graduating from university, my first lesson starts. And all of the lessons amount to the same thing, this idea of I'm not the body. And from this idea, all the rest of Krishna consciousness unfolds. If you can get realization of this, and I got it by more or less painful means, then everything else slots into place. So, in 2002, I realized I have this chronic health condition known as ulcerative colitis, or Crohn's disease. Anyone heard of this? Yeah, a few people. It's becoming more and more common, almost like doubling every couple of years. So, it's inflammation of the digestion system. And different types, depending on how much of the colon is inflamed. When I got put into hospital with horrible abdominal pains and bloody diarrhea and unable to hold down even water, I had this one. Everything in my colon was inflamed. Put me on steroids, didn't feed me anything for 3 weeks, in hopes that my body could heal from the steroids, otherwise they would have to cut something out, some colon out, but they couldn't really cut anything out because everything was inflamed. So they hoped the steroids would work. And after 3 weeks, they did. But coming into this, in 2002, all throughout university, I had been practicing martial arts. I had been lifting some weights. My body looked like that in 2002, before the health condition. Afterwards, it looked like that. I could not walk under my own strength after that episode in the hospital. And you know, when your super strong body that you're super attached to gets destroyed and taken away from you over the course of 3 weeks, you kind of realize, hey, maybe I'm not this thing. This thing is temporary, this body. And this realization, like I said, it's kind of like this statue here. It feels exactly like that to me, where you kind of know, you read it in the books, yeah, I'm not the body, and this body is temporary and stuff, but when it actually happens to you, you're like, oh, it actually is, yes. And it kind of slots into place, and you're like, that's the picture that I need to understand. So when I read in Bhagavad Gita, great book, by the way, if you haven't read it, pick up a copy outside. Ask any of the practitioners of Krishna consciousness here, any of the staff. You can tell if someone's a staff member by them wearing this wooden necklace. We all wear one of these. Secret identifying mark. Of course, you can buy one too. It's not like it's exclusive or anything. But it tends to signal that that person practices Krishna consciousness. Just as a tangent, I was walking through a mall in Germany, in Frankfurt, when I was visiting my parents there, and I walked into a shop, and the shopkeeper is like, "Is that a Tulsi necklace?" In German, "Ist das eine Tulsi Halskette?" And I was like, "Ja." And he's like, bist du ein Devotee? ein Hare Krishna. Yeah, so all around the world, you get recognized as a practitioner of Krishna consciousness by wearing this. Anyway, aside. I just wrote the wrong direction. So, those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance. No endurance. It can be destroyed at any moment. And of the eternal, the consciousness, there is no change. The consciousness is forever. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. So, seers of the truth, people that should know better than you or me, have concluded by studying the nature, extensive study of the nature of the universe, they've concluded the material body doesn't actually exist because it comes and goes at any moment. It's gone. You get ulcerative colitis and your body gets destroyed in 3 weeks. No endurance. And the eternal, the consciousness, the thing that's actually you, there is no change. It forever is the same. It is the actual you. This verse in Bhagavad Gita suddenly made so much more sense after my experience. And similarly, where it says, as a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the consciousness similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up old and useless ones. So when this body dies, naturally, if as previous verse said, consciousness is eternal and there is no change, it must persist beyond birth and death of body, and can transfer from one old body to a new one. Just as the analogy says, you have old clothes, they get holes, you throw them away, you buy new clothes. You have old body, it gets old, it dies, you throw it away, you get new body. So this all started to make so much more sense. And it was realization from experience. It's had nothing to do with belief or anything. I could see, yes, practically, this is true. I've experienced this. Simply relying on the body to put all my identity in, to put all my hopes and dreams and desires into this fragile, temporary thing, that's not a sensible course of action it's not a sensible life strategy. My life strategy is to have the best body in the world. I'll take excellent care of my body, apply all kinds of products to it, and I'll be happy. That's not going to work because the body is temporary. As I experience. But of course it makes sense to everyone. Of course that's not going to work. But when it comes down to your actual body and your actual self, especially if you're young and strong, that doesn't really compute. You're thinking, my body will last forever, even though it won't. And I had the fortune of realizing that. So, fast forward a couple of years. Second lesson. Seems that I hadn't really absorbed this first lesson fully, or maybe forgotten about it in 12 years' time between these two stories. So by now I'm living in Auckland, at the time in South Auckland, and everyone knows Auckland traffic is disgusting. So I thought I had the perfect means of dodging the traffic. So this machine, motorbike or scooter, high-powered scooter, Sim Citycom 300cc scooter. And one day, when riding on the southern motorway, I was riding along and created this diagram to illustrate what happened between traffic lane splitting, because why sit in traffic jam when you can go beside, or the motorbike riders do it, and it's legal in New Zealand. And as I came up to the orange truck there, suddenly the gap between the truck and the car closed up as the driver shifted about a bit, and I tried to brake but couldn't brake fast enough, and tried to swerve to try to fit through the gap anyway. But as I did, my handlebars contacted the truck to my left and got entangled, and the bike, and I bumped back and forth between the car and the truck next to me and fell sideways to the left behind the truck. Truck driver behind braked and didn't run me over, luckily. Stopped in time. As I fell, the 200-kilogram scooter fell onto my foot, which, even though I was wearing a heavy armored boot, isn't too healthy for for my foot. At the time, because of shock and everything, I got up, and truck driver helped me up. I didn't feel the damage. I got back on my scooter, which was undamaged for the most part, kept riding on, and then realized, oh, something is wrong with my foot. Turned around, made it to the hospital, and my foot was black at that point. All kinds of x-rays and CAT scans and everything. Initially, the doctors concluded that I have a Lisfranc tendon injury, and they'll have to operate to reattach the tendons to my foot, and I'll never be able to walk properly again. It turned out, a couple of months later, they did more x-rays. Actually, there was so much soft tissue damage that they thought there was tendon damage, but actually my tendons were fine. And after about 4 months, my foot healed and I could walk once again. So in the 2 months, I was thinking that I could never walk again, or not walk properly again. I was thinking, oh no, I'm ruined. I can't run, I can't walk, my life is destroyed. And my wife consoled me saying, you've been practicing this Krishna consciousness now for, like 14 years. Don't you know, like, you're not the foot? And the foot is part of your body. You actually are fine. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, which I'd read many times at this point, it is said that the consciousness is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. Your consciousness lasts forever. It's not you. Whatever happens to the body just happens to the body. Don't worry. It's okay. Even if you can't walk again, life goes on. And I could walk again. My foot is fine now. No problems. And I've since quit riding the scooter. I ride an e-bike now, which is much safer, as no cars around to run you over. And also, in Bhagavad Gita, it says, O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and their disappearance in due course, are like the appearance and disappearance of the winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, or kind of birth, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Happiness and distress will come and go all the time. There's nothing you can do about it. Has everyone here been happy before in their life? Yes. You don't need to raise your hand, of course. Has anyone here been unhappy before in their life? Yes. It's guaranteed. Happiness will come. Unhappiness will also come. Nothing you can do can stop this. Instead, you have to understand, in pure spiritual consciousness, you can be transcendental to happiness and distress. And actually, I remembered when reading this verse and when talking to my wife after realizing that I'm not the foot. When I first started practicing this Krishna consciousness and first visited the Bhaktivedanta Manor, I came back from my visit, from staying overnight at the manor, at this amazing temple. And the next week in university, I was thinking, I am so happy for no reason whatsoever. I was just like a smile on my face throughout the week, and I was like, I'm like super happy. This is the happiest I've been in my life for no reason whatsoever. I can't think of a single reason I should be happy. University life is the same as it was before. But something about that visit to this temple just made me happy for no reason. And so that's the meaning of this verse. By practice of Krishna consciousness, by this meditation, by the study, you can get happiness that is independent of material happiness and distress. Things can make your body happy, things can make your body unhappy. With Krishna consciousness, as I realized, you can be transcendently happy, independent of, even if so-called unhappy otherwise. So it's quite profound. And realizing this with my foot injury, I was quite happy. I was like, oh yeah, okay, whatever happens, I don't mind. And then, luckily, my foot was fine. Moving on. Story number 3, 2 years ago. So all throughout my life, I've been struggling, or all throughout since the year 2000, 2002, when I first was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, I was struggling with my digestion. My digestion never worked right. Whatever food I would eat wasn't properly absorbed, so I could never gain any weight or develop any muscle mass or anything. So I was always, since this incident in 2002, I was always very sickly and weak. And various episodes in hospital where if you have ulcerative colitis, every couple of years the disease flares up and you get intense inflammation that requires hospitalization and more steroids to heal, and then it kind of settles for a little bit, and I'm okay for a year or two, and then it comes back and it's hospital visit again. So the last major flare-up I had was in 2006. And there I learned I'm not the mind, not the brain. Also, the stuff is material. The mind and brain is matter. It is not something that is me. I am consciousness. I am spiritual. I am soul. I am not the mind. Which is, if you can just understand you're not the body, you're doing better than everyone out there on the street. That's a really profound realization. If you can actually realize that and act on that realization, your life is transformed. Then this, you're not the mind, is one level beyond that, because that's a harder realization to get, and it's harder to grasp, harder to internalize. And I got a glimpse of this not being the mind 2 years ago. So if you look at the Krishna conscious literature, it describes human beings as three things: body, mind, and consciousness. Surround the outer layer of the human is the body. Then that encapsulates the mind, which is more than just the brain. It is the brain is the organ for mind. It expresses the mind, but the mind is something else. And then within that is the consciousness, which is the real self, the thing that makes up our actual identity. And there's various arguments for this. And you can look at reincarnation remembrances and things, or near-death experiences to see where people are separated from their material body. But one other way of understanding this is, anyone know what this thing is? I put one transition in too much. Oh well, I'll just explain it. Self-driving car. In the background there that you can't see. All the rage now, as every car company in the world is trying to build a self-driving car, because pretty much like 30% of people's jobs is driving some kind of vehicle. If you can build a self-driving vehicle, suddenly you can save all that money and make all these people unemployed and make more profit for your company. So, in this analogy, the car is the body, the outer shell, the thing that does all the work, that interacts with the world. The mind is the self-driving computer, the thing that moves the car around, interacts with the world, understands what needs to be done in every circumstance. Oh, there's a pedestrian crossing, I better brake. Oh, there is a road to walk down, I better walk down the road. Oh, there is a job to do, I go to my work, earn some money. That's the mind, it can do things. And the passenger is the consciousness. The passenger tells the car where to go, what to do, but doesn't really control the car directly. Passenger's just like, I'm sitting here observing, ooh, that was a really bad turn. I shouldn't have smoked that thing. That was a bad turn, I shouldn't have done that. Self-driving car, next time, when that turn comes, be more careful. So the passenger is directing the wandering of the mind by giving occasional instructions and inputs, and experiencing all the results, looking out the windscreen, going, that looks nice, and ooh, no, horrible, no, don't want to do that again, and programming the car. Meanwhile, the car, the body, is the thing that we all see, and the thing that seemingly is doing all the interaction, and we think, the passenger inside the self-driving car thinks, I'm the car. Where there's actually a computer and a real passenger inside that is actually controlling the car. We're not simply the external manifestation of ourselves. So with that in mind, I was delivered into hospital again in 2016, and had the usual stomach pains. By this time, I knew, oh yeah, colitis pains. Here we go. Could not even digest water properly. So I was throughout hospital. I was getting extremely dehydrated. Yes, they put me on a drip, but by that time I was so dehydrated. One of the things that you get from, anyone know, from intense dehydration is? Oh yeah, all those things. But what I got was kidney stones. Anyone here had kidney stones before? One person? Depending on how big the stones are, kidney stones are the worst pain a human being can experience in their life. Far worse than childbirth, I'm told, and I experienced. I had really big kidney stones from the dehydration, and one day I was recovering, the steroids were working, my digestion was healing, and then one day it's like, ooh, that doesn't feel good. Ooh, and I started screaming. And the nurses came and doctors came, they gave me morphine, which did nothing. If anyone has taken morphine before, the most intense painkiller, it's basically heroin that they give you. And did absolutely nothing to stop the pain. I kept screaming and screaming and screaming. As I was screaming, though, I found myself chanting the Hare Krishna mantra almost involuntarily, which is, by this time, I've been chanting for 16 years without stopping. So it's kind of a habit that manifests itself in times of need. And as I was, it's a picture of morphine, just to remind everyone. So as I was in this super extreme pain, most intense pain I've ever experienced, most intense pain that anyone probably has ever experienced, I was strangely detached. I mean, yes, I was screaming and my body was in agony, but I was thinking, this is not me. Interesting. This intense pain my mind is suffering is completely outside of my real self. My mind is screaming out in pain, but I'm actually fine. I'm not. I can chant this Hare Krishna mantra in my mind and kind of mumble it between screams with my mouth, but I'm unaffected from this. And even though I thought I was going to die, literally, during this time, the doctors didn't know it was kidney stones at this time. I only found out later what it was. I was not scared in the slightest. I was like, oh well, if I die now, okay, no problem. This is, I'm not the mind, I'm not the body. If I die, so be it. I have another body, probably, because I'm still attached to so much material things. But this is not too bad. So while I was not actually dying, it felt like borderline near-death experience. And near-death experiences, by the way, are, as an aside, very badly named because actual near-death experiences are actual death experiences. The person actually dies and then is brought back to life. So when a person dies, their consciousness detaches from the body. And so many people, thousands of case reports of people experiencing things when their body is dead. Their brain waves are zero. All the machines go dee, and they experience these things that they describe as ultra-realistic, they seem even more real than so-called reality. Everything is like super crisp, they say. Much more so than we see with our eyes. And then the doctors, by their expert medicine, restart the body, whatever's wrong with the body, and the person gets yanked back into their body, and it's like, oh, okay, must have been some kind of dream, must have been a hallucination, because everyone has this faith in matter. Matter as the only thing. The mystic powers of matter are able to generate consciousness from nothing. So while I did not die and did not have an actual death experience, I was close to it. And death isn't so bad, really, in Krishna consciousness. In material consciousness, if you think all I am is this body and this brain, death is super scary because this is the end of you. All your enjoyment is finished. In Krishna consciousness, it's fine. Not really here nor there. Things happen. Will happen to all of us one day. So I spoke to my spiritual teacher after this incident, and he was like, yeah, it was good practice. Because one day, this will happen for real. It was good practice. So, further looking into Bhagavad Gita, it explains that as the embodied consciousness continually passes in this body, from childhood to youth to old age, the consciousness similarly passes into another body at death. A wise person is not bewildered by such change. So I'd experienced a little bit of wisdom to not be, even though in extreme pain, not be super bewildered by the change. And whatever state of being one remembers when one quits the body, that state one will attain without fail. So part of the law of reincarnation is that whatever one is focusing on as the predominant energy or association or desire in life, that one gets in one's next life. So some people that are voracious meat eaters, better suited with animals like tiger as their next body, where they can fully engage in meat eating without any consequence. And some people that are intense drug users, better suited to a plant body, where they can just be essentially dull things that grow very slowly and only have limited interaction with the outside world. Whereas people that are focused on spiritual consciousness, their body is either made of pure spirit one day, or made of, or in the association like we are here, where there's spiritual practitioners, where they can continue to practice spiritual and make further progress in their spiritual journey. So, reincarnation, of course, depends entirely on understanding that consciousness is separate from mind, is separate from body. And a much more practical lesson from all this was the head gastroenterologist at Auckland North Shore Hospital was really good throughout all this. She was, after I had experienced all the thing and recovered from almost dying, or so I thought, she was, okay, so clearly this ulcerative colitis is a problem that you've had for many years now. Well, here's what we can do with medicine. One thing we can do is operate and remove a portion of the digestion system and stitch the two bits together. It means we remove the portion that's most likely to be inflamed. Sometimes the inflammation comes back at the joint, but for some people it works and they're fine. And you can kind of live with your digestion system is a little bit shorter than normally, but side effects, dangers in operation because they're cutting you open and so on. That's a dangerous procedure. The other thing that they can do, give you a biological drug, which they give to cancer patients, that turns off your immune system. In ulcerative colitis, it's the body's own immune system that attacks the wall of the colon. mistaking it for a foreign invader. So by turning off the immune system, nothing is attacking the wall of the colon, and you're fine. Except one small detail, right? Yes, exactly. Immune system is kind of a good thing to have. One small disease and a common cold wipes out your body. So immune system is kind of a good thing to have, and they only do this in the most extreme cases. Or, she said, I just read the scientific study out of Israel, where a group of people with colitis were given this herb, this extract from turmeric root called curcumin. And they improved. You seem like your reaction to the other two options seems like you might like to try this. Normally I don't recommend it to people because most people are like, just give me the drugs, whatever, I want to be better. But you seem like you want something, you're willing to try this. And I was like, yeah, sure. I'll order it. You have to pay for it yourself, but it's like $1 or $2 a day to buy this. And I was like, yeah, I'll try it. And oh my God, I've not been better. In the last 20 years of my life, I'm healthier now than I hinged the picture. Also, I'm healthier now than I've been in the past 20 years. Curcumin is equivalent to steroids in its anti-inflammatory power. It heals inflammation like nothing else. And this super concentrate tablet you can take is the equivalent of eating about 1 kilogram of turmeric in one tablet. So good luck if you chop up 1 kilogram of turmeric root and eat it. It's kind of disgusting. You can't get through that. But curcumin, I take two tablets a day, and I've not had a flare-up of colitis since. If you have any kind of autoimmune disease, any disease of inflammation, even like arthritis and so on, all these things, curcumin works wonders. I thoroughly recommend it. One thing to watch out for is that it is a blood thinner. So if you're on blood thinning medication, like warfarin or something, don't take it because you can faint, or one cut and you can kind of bleed out. Consult your doctor before taking any drug, both natural and artificial. Disclaimer over. But curcumin, yeah, changed my life. Lots of thanks to the doctor at North Shore Hospital who suggested it. But what also changed my life is the whole spiritual process. As the founder of the Krishna consciousness movement, Srila Prabhupada says in one of his books, the whole spiritual process leads to perfect knowledge of everything, material and spiritual. And the result of such perfect knowledge is that one becomes detached from material affection and becomes attached to spiritual activities. So I can see how this is so true. I can actually get firm realization of seeing, oh yes, actually what it says in the books is right. I'm not the body. I'm not the mind. I'm not the brain. I am spirit. And I don't really care so much about matter anymore. Still I do a little bit. But working on it. It's a lifetime journey. But I get some actual perfect knowledge, some glimpses of perfect knowledge, and that causes me to be detached from matter and attached to actually liking spiritual practice more and more. It becomes not a chore, it becomes something I actually like to do. Yeah, I actually do like this Krishna consciousness. It dawned on me, I was thinking about this the other day. I actually like Krishna consciousness, it's nice. I like doing it. Who knows? So, and if all of this is true, if as I've experienced, non-material consciousness is actually a non-material substance, then, if my consciousness is truly not matter, and there is such a thing as spirit, then the concept of this supreme spirit, this God or whatever you call it, that becomes entirely obvious. if you're a spirit, then and either everyone is spirit, obviously. If I'm spirit, then everyone else is spirit. And either we're all just spirit, and that's it, or there is some supreme spirit that is controlling and arranging and providing us with opportunities to fulfill our desires, both material and spiritual. So it's a bit of a journey to get from I am spirit to there is actually such a thing as a supreme spiritual being. But that's a journey you can make from the point of I am spirit, which aham brahmasmi in Sanskrit. And then by further practice, you get that realization. The same way that you get the realization of I am not the body, you can get the realization of, oh yes, there is a supreme spirit actually. I see. And it's not faith. It's, yes, I have seen this. It is true. I have knowledge. Why doesn't anyone believe me? Because everyone is out there thinking, yeah, look at my body. So strong. I push my body against your body and I'm happy. Which is so far removed from I'm not the body, I'm not the mind. I'm actual spirit, and there is supreme spirit going down that chain. That there's really no hope unless you practice Krishna consciousness and get this kind of realization. Hopefully by less extreme means than I have had to endure, simply by chanting and reading and studying and coming here, eating the spiritualized food also helps. No, seriously, it does. Transforms your consciousness. You can get this realization and not have to be a believer in the religion of matter, and not have to be a believer in whatever. Choose your flavor of religion, but can be a person that has true knowledge of the reality of spirit. I'm getting there. Any questions?